Welcome to Rooster Radio, a broadcast dedicated to supporting and promoting local artists in the Gaston County and surrounding areas.
Sorry that my voice isn't the best, but I've been
you're
ever
fine.
since Brew Stock, which was just now. It's been 2 weeks, but ever since that show, I have not been 100%. Like I've been, and this week it really caught up to me because I started getting like sinus pressure and stuff on top of it. So,
Ran yourself low, sounds like.
what's that?
Said ran yourself low, sounds like. I had that a couple months ago.
I need to recharge, and then it doesn't really slow down. Tomorrow night, we're hosting a show that was supposed to take place at Skylark, but because of the stuff that's happening with them, it's a tour. So one of the bands on the tour is a Charlotte band, and they reached out and was like,
Regions,
"Hey,
right?
Yeah. They reached out and was like, "Hey, you want to pick the show up?" I was like, "Well, what deal did you make with them?"
Right, yeah.
and it was fair, so I was like, "All right, fuck it, let's do it." So we're going to show tomorrow night.
Right.
Then so I'll rest Tuesday.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, staying busy is a good thing. Like I was talking to somebody last night, we're getting up there in age and stuff, and I want to keep moving. Like the minute you stop moving, that's when everything starts to break down.
Yep.
Like I can battle through an injury or not feeling well, but the minute you stop and you start just fucking off, that's when your body starts breaking down. That's when your mind starts breaking down. You get bored. I'd much rather stay busy like this the rest of my life than not have shit to do. You know what I
My
mean?
grandmother's 80 and has retired probably 20 years ago and still works every day doing something.
Yeah, I got mad respect for seniors that keep it moving. Because I've watched it happen. I mean, I've watched it happen to members of my family. They get old and they don't do shit, and they just their health goes to shit.
Yeah.
So I'd rather go out
Doing something.
than not. Is what I'm saying, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get it?
I think no.
Yeah. Nice.
All right.
You don't need it? Okay. That was your contribution. All right.
Shut up.
He's
He's
have
out.
to talk for the rest of the time. There you go.
But ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Fault Union again. Say hey, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
And we got Fault Union on the show today because this Saturday we have an album release party for these guys. Finally,
Yes.
right? Finally,
Yes.
the album's together.
Yes.
How long has it taken to write this and record this album?
2 years?
3 years.
3 years, yeah. 3 years.
I feel like we started talking about this album the first time we interviewed you during COVID.
Yeah, that was when the writing had first started and getting it all together and everything, and then now we're, just getting into got through the recording process finally, and then it took a little bit to get to us, but now it's here, and so we're good.
So with it having taken this long to write the album, I have to assume that all five guys are 100% content with where you're at, with where the songs are and stuff. Because, now what was the biggest challenge getting the album written? Because, I've got no issue with a band taking time to get an album right. But, like I said, when we first started talking to you, y'all just started writing the album, and now it's about 3 years later. How did that process end up taking 3 years?
You want to go first?
Yeah, so
I'd like to say I have an input, but it might be different from yours.
okay. Well, the biggest thing was that we wrote the album, got it all together. We were pretty prepared, and then had booked dates. I think it was 8 or 9 days. I think was when we were going to record it over a couple weeks because of work schedules and stuff. And then we got to the end of that time period and realized there was a lot more that we needed to do, that needed to get done. And then
in terms of mixing or rewriting?
Some
or-
of it was just recording. Just didn't have time in the days that we had planned to record everything. I know Matt and Garrett had gone back, what, 2 or
We went back 2 or 3 times
I think-
after.
Yeah.
I think for y'all, the guitars, there's just a lot of color in it. I mean, we got drums and bass done relatively quickly, but then when it came to guitars, I mean, not at anyone's fault. It's just in order to make it sound the way we had intended, it just needed more time to, leads.
Yeah.
A rhythm was obviously pretty much the first thing we laid down, but then it just took so much more time to go back and.
There's
write.
a
I mean,
lot
to
going
fill-
on guitar-wise
Yeah.
on the album. So, and then with a lot of it being like quad track stuff, so me and Matt both have to record our parts 2 times and then go back and redo leads or cleans or
It's just
whatever.
time-consuming.
Yeah. So that was like the recording process. We also we were writing it at one point, and this is probably back in 2020, 2021. And kind of, I think we had an idea of like recording it and releasing it at a certain point, and we got to getting close to that point in time, and we were like, there's songs that really aren't polished, that we're not really that good at playing them yet, because a lot of this writing was like writing it and then trying to learn it as a band, and kind of at first almost kind of rushing through it because we wanted to be able to record it and all get it done quick. And I think we had to step back and be like, okay, we're going to take some time to like finish writing the album and then finish learning the album as a full band and get it like polished. And
Taking your time and doing it right.
Exactly.
In other words, yeah.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the 4 singles that we had out before Pain and Provision, so we have Lighthouse and Navigator, which were written pretty much a little less than 10 years ago, maybe about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Then we had Obedience and Temporary, which is kind of what I would call the new wave of Fault Union. But all 4 of those songs were written without technology other than
Yeah.
the actual instruments themselves. So it's just a matter of us getting together and rehearsing the songs out, someone bringing an idea, and then I think I wrote lyrics to Temporary. So it's just piecing things together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm not a lyricist, but just figuring it out. Everything else was written around the time that you moved into a house, and really we started to invest in our equipment. But specifically, Garrett actually investing in,
just a
studio.
makeshift home studio.
Yeah,
So that's where you recorded everything? So your home
That's
studio?
where we demoed stuff out.
and
I was
that's
going to ask if is there a producer or somebody we want to shout out for putting
Yeah.
the album, the polished product out?
Yeah, Landis and Landon at Unify Sound Lab did all the engineering work on this stuff. Their part of it was, on our end, we were trying to come with scratch tracks like fully demoed out at Garrett's to kind of make the process quicker on their end. So that we could just go in, drop the scratch track, record all the parts over the scratch, and then pull the scratch out, and it should be good.
that way Jacob could show up.
Yeah.
And we recorded scratch tracks at home. He could show up and just listen to that at the studio.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I would say what was challenging, at least on my part, was most of the writing took place. He would do it in his free time, take ideas. Matt would take ideas, possibly elaborate them on free time. But then you still had to go and put that on. You had to demo that. Then I think for a while we were practicing on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
but then practices turned into just going to Garrett's. And this is something that we just weren't used to, is demoing things out. And I think it was hurting our spirit a little bit, especially because we weren't playing shows. One was because pandemic, and it was looked down upon plus unsafe for a lot of the venues we play.
Well, you
but then-
guys, you're 5 grown men with lives and jobs and
Yeah.
families
Right.
and stuff. You've gotten married, recently. Jonah, didn't you get engaged?
I just got
recently?
engaged like 3
Yeah,
weeks ago.
everybody's doing their grown up stuff, and then on top of that, you guys are somewhat. I would consider you guys somewhat perfectionist. The way that your music sounds every time you've dropped a new song, it is polished. I think that's a good word that you guys use, is polished, when you guys release music.
It was really cool, though, to do the demoing process. We did it without drums, so for the most part, Jacob was writing the drums either in his head or once we took him to practice, we had an idea.
Yeah,
like Garrett
yeah.
or Matt would have an idea for drums, and then give that to Jacob, and that's how he would write the drum parts, and that has evolved into what you will hear in a couple days. And there's something else I was going to mention.
I think the process we did use, while we did, like he was saying, we'd never done it before, it was kind of taking some getting used to. And at times, it definitely was a grind. Because, like you said, we're 5 grown men with 5 completely different lives.
Not
Yeah.
playing shows.
But
either.
I think the process was probably more efficient than in the past. I like all the old songs and everything, but we wrote 10 or 12 new songs in the span of about a year, maybe a little over a year, whereas in the past it took us years, to which we weren't like grinding writing songs because we were playing
having
shows at the
fun.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we wrote a lot more in a lot shorter period of time with how we did it this time.
Talk about the name Pain and Provision, the name of the album, Pain and Provision. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah, so this record, and this was unintentional. It was more like Garrett would write something, we're like, that's cool, and then he'd write something else, and we're like, that's cool. And then we noticed that there's kind of 2 sides. There's a more melodic, kind of standard metalcore type sound, and then there's a lot like heavier, darker, kind of pulling in from heavier genres and hardcore and deathcore and like that kind of stuff to make new sounds. And it's 2 very different sides. And I was thinking about that as I was writing the lyrics for a lot of things, and especially for that song in particular, Pain and Provision, because it's about a friend of me and Garrett's that had passed away in a car accident. And that pain of losing somebody, but also the grief can also be provision, because it means that you actually cared about something and someone poured into you and you poured into them, and that means something. And that record having 2 sides kind of feels that way too. There's the heavy, dark, like pain stuff, but then there's that more melodic, more flowy provision.
It sounds like there's a lot more emotion put into it.
Yeah,
Like,
the 2 different sides of life, really.
Yeah.
And those 2 things kind of working together. You know,
To create something beautiful.
right? Yeah. Not to quote the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but there's a line in one of
Quotes
those
the Marvel
movies. Quotes the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of the lines is, "What is grief if not love persevering?" And I'm like,
Right.
that kind of stuck with me, and when writing the lyrics for a lot of the songs, it kind of goes there. The 2 sides.
Is that an underlying theme of the album?
It is.
Like all of the songs kind of tie into this, 2-sided emotion,
Yeah.
kind of thing?
The subjects vary. I mean, because they vary from faith and loss and relationships, and one song is literally just like a nightmare that I had one time, and I was like, that kind of fits with this song. That
sounds
That's
like a good
interesting.
subject for a metal band.
it really is.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it really is. It's like arguably the heaviest song on the record.
Care to elaborate on the nightmare a little bit?
Yeah, it was. I have these like really vivid dreams, and there was one. It was literally the world was just ending, but not in like a nuclear disaster or something like that. It was literally just the earth was breaking in half,
Oh,
and that was part of the dream. Is I had this grand idea, which was if the world does break in half, don't do this. I decided I was gonna. There was these group of people that I somehow knew in the dream, and I pulled them all into this like commercial office building, and was like, we need to get to the top of this building, which is a terrible idea if things are falling. It's not a good idea. You shouldn't stand underneath them, but you also shouldn't stand on top of them. So, but anyway, I had this idea in the dream that I needed to get all these people to the top of this building, and every time I would open a door, it was a hallway, and then I'd open the door at the end of that hallway, it was another hallway, and then it was a hallway and a hallway and a hallway and a hallway. And that, there's like one of the lines is, endless hallways, why can't this be over? Because that was really at one point in the dream, I was like, I wish I would wake up. Like, I'm tired of opening doors. Like, but it's,
The song sounds like the end of the world.
it sounds
too,
like
right?
hell.
It's
I mean,
it's
that's what it sounds like. Yeah.
it's
what's that one called?
Hollow.
hollow.
Hollow?
And then with the pain provision, like you can distinctly hear the 2 sides of the album with the different songs. Like it's split about down the middle with halfway like really, really heavy, like end of the world sounding songs, and then halfway like just standard like melodic metalcore.
Yeah, you guys don't really do silly. Like, Like y'all, none of your
Not
songs-
in the studio. We goof off live some.
Well, and our song names, they're all serious, but they're all the demos.
The demos.
The
working titles are hilarious.
Yeah, you have to have a working title if you haven't done lyrics yet. So I think the lyrics usually come
After.
later.
They usually come later
Yeah, so Pain and Provision was originally called Spoopy.
yeah.
because it has this ambient thing. And we were like, "Oh, that's real. That's real
Spoopy.
There's one song. It's called Blackwater on the record, but the key of the song is D sharp, and then we called it D sharp for a while. And then Garrett was just like, he made the track name in neural DiGiorno.
I don't remember why, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of like all the working titles. I don't think there was one working title that was like serious.
no.
And then half of us still don't know the real names.
Yeah, like when
We still call them the
when
working
we
titles.
do set lists, we do like the title that's on the record, and then we have to put the working title beside it. Like
That's hilarious.
there's a song called Highball, which is like a thing like lyrically, it's like a thing from my life about a murder that happened in my family and that person going to jail. The working title of that song was called Joe, and it has nothing to do with anybody that song's about. It's just a friend of ours named Joe, and we just put Joe as the working
I've
title.
seen it. I think we covered most of the funny ones, but I was
Yeah.
about to pull out some more.
Trying to see like what the other ones are.
Oh, wait, and then one's called Old School because we thought it sounded like an old school metalcore song.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody sent us a DM to our Facebook page saying, I really like your guys' sound, but it sounds a little bit dated, saying that we sounded like old. And then he offered to like join our band and fix all the problems.
Oh,
Wow.
Which is super.
his name wasn't.
You know, but so then when we first started writing like Old School, I was like, when this record comes out, I'm sending a DM back to him of that song because it sounds very like classic metalcore of being like, hey, we really worked hard to update our sound. Wanted to know what you think about it.
Well, that's. I mean, you bring that up. It kind of it makes me think of some of the messages I get from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
Like people want to fix and want to help, so to speak. It's such a bold thing
Yeah.
to reach out to somebody that's doing something,
Yeah.
and you're not doing anything.
And it pisses me off because it's like, you don't think I'm my own worst critic, you know? Like
Or
to
you
have
don't think
somebody
maybe I've
else
already
saying
thought about it, or
to
maybe
me,
we like the way we sound.
Yeah.
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 I was about to say, I mean, everything was challenging about making the album, but at the same time, like, we're not forcing the sound at all. I mean, I think sometimes we're like, we want to try this, but for the most part, we're just making the music we want to play.
Yeah.
So
And like any art, it's never really finished. It's just abandoned, right? So like even if you have a song and you record it, and you're like, sounds amazing. In 10 years or 5 years, you're gonna look back and be like, kind of wish I had done this different.
There
Oh,
were
yeah.
several
But that's
moments
all.
in this where like I'd want to keep like doing stuff, and Matt's like, "Stop." No.
You have to stop. This song's going to be 11 minutes long if we don't stop it now.
Well, not even like increasing like length of it, just like
More layers.
adding more layers and flair to it that really no one else probably besides maybe like me and the guys would even notice. And there's probably a lot of that already on the record.
How much of the instrumentation on the album are you going like? Will you be able to hear everything live that you're hearing on the album?
you'll hear most of the
There's one.
I know I'm getting a little in the weeds here. Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
realize
that's
that,
fine.
but I'm just curious, like, because some bands will use backing tracks for the added ambiance of the song
Yeah.
and stuff, and I'm just curious, like, how much of the album will we actually hear?
The performance is pretty raw. You won't hear backing tracks. You'll hear both guitars, and I think y'all do a pretty good job of covering most of the parts.
Yeah, I like. I think probably the whole band agrees too. I like writing stuff that we can play like live, whether that's to the ability or to just
Not get too far away from the heart.
right.
of the song,
Exactly.
yeah.
Like if it's a 5-person band, like I want to have 5 parts. There's one song, "Longing," that the intro has like a couple different guitar parts going on and 1 or 2 more than what we have in the band. But I think still live we do a good job of like
You got to put a guitar in
portraying
Jonah's
that.
hands, man.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
They did that a long time ago, and they haven't done it since. So that's everything you need to know. But I think they do a good job, just from the guy who stands in between them. I think they do a good job about when we do play live, the parts that you hear are the more important parts of what's
Right,
on the
it's the
record.
core
Yeah,
parts
if
of the
there's
song.
if there's anything missing, it's like,
the bells and whistles kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's one part where it's in Pain and Provision where Matt and Garrett both harmonize together on part of Garrett's solo, and instead of Matt just playing those big chords in the back, he does that harmony because you want to hear that harmony.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you listen to the record and then came and saw us live and were like, I love when the guitars do this harmony thing, and then they don't do it.
It would be
Right.
kind of a killer on it, you know.
So the bass would hold down that rhythm.
Yeah,
You'll
bass
hear that
holds
live.
down.
Like you'll hear a guitar drop out of the rhythm, but the solo is really the cake there. So
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the live performance part, I mean, we've got the show this Saturday.
Right.
This Saturday, it's what is it? 10 in advance, 12? I can't remember how
I
much
think
tickets.
I think it was 12 and 12.
12.
Now I don't
No.
know. 7 and 12.
I think it's 10 and 12.
Save money and get the tickets early. Is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
But it's this Saturday now, and we're bringing in. We should mention we're bringing in Cleansing of the Temple.
Yes.
Bringing in
Omen Killer
Omen-
and Long Suffering.
and Long Suffering. And Omen Killer was a late addition to the show. And
The day before we announced it.
and shout out to those guys. They've
Yeah.
played a couple times here already. They're from Georgia.
Yes.
We love them. They're fantastic live performers.
Yeah.
If you're going to come to the show, get here early and check them out. They
Yeah.
are really, really fun to watch live.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad they hopped on.
Yeah, when we first talked about booking this show, I really wanted Cleansing of the Temple because I'm just a personal fan of theirs.
Well, I'm glad you did because I've wanted to get them here and I don't have any like mutual friends. I don't have a way into that camp. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
there was no, like most of the bands have kind of grown out of the relationships and I don't have a connection to them.
Right. Yeah.
And when you sent me the info and I saw they were going to be on, I was like, shit, yeah, like this
Right.
is great, like
Yeah.
because it'll be their first time here. And Long Suffering, I was unaware of till you sent me this, so they'll be their first time here as well. So that's going to
Yeah.
be fun too.
Yeah, we played with Long Suffering pretty far back, and then they've had some lineup changes and different things going on. But I wasn't 100% aware of what they were really doing until I reached out to book the show and was like, hey, if you guys are still doing stuff, would you want to jump on this? And they did. And then they recently played at the Radio Room in Greenville with Cleansing of the Temple, and Wilt Wither and I think Violent End played too. And so from what I heard from that show is that they did really, really well. I'm excited to see them play again. It's been a while since we played with them.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great lineup.
Yeah, it is a killer lineup, and as far as your performance goes, are we going to hear the whole album? Like, are you going to do a start to finish kind of deal with the album?
Yeah,
We can leave it at that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. You're going to hear everything that we're releasing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hear it
okay,
all.
cool.
So if you don't listen to it the day before when it comes out, you're definitely gonna listen to it when
Yeah.
it comes to the show.
You'll hear it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a great time, and we're gonna give ourselves a break. We got a couple hopefully we don't use backing tracks, but we do have samples. So
Yeah.
our plan is to have samples throughout the set for us to tune and whatnot.
Yeah, we need to give
So-
me at least a couple of minutes to sip water because it's gonna be rough for me.
Well, Jonah, I mean, I've seen you perform several times now. You do lay it out there, like you use all of your breath.
Yeah,
So
everything
yeah,
I got.
I love looking at Jonah after y'all set. He's just
I'm dead.
covered in sweat. He can barely breathe. His face is red.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And that's the time people want to talk to you. They didn't want to talk to you before you started playing, and then they want to come up and speak and say things. I can't tell you how many times we've played a show, and somebody has walked up to me after the fact, and they could be saying anything. They could be, we went to middle school together. I just hit your car. I hate your band, whatever. And I'll be like, dude, thank you so much. Like, because I don't hear it, and I'm just on autopilot. Like, yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Do you
You
have
know.
songs? Do you have songs that like you have to have this song as the last in the set because it just fucks your voice?
Well, you-
Kind of.
Maybe not so ability wise.
Not so
I think we've got a
ability-wise,
couple
but-
songs that if we play these songs, we're probably ending on these songs, or this song's good to
Yeah,
start out with. but
There are some songs that we do. Well, it's really one song. It's really Hollow. It's just the music. Like there's a song that's faster, but I don't do as many things vocally. Hollow, I'm doing a lot vocally, and it's pretty quick compared to everything else that I do.
A lot of intensity the whole time.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's a lot going on, and so much so that
You
Garrett,
guys need to write a ballad to give this guy a break.
I know, man. We need
You've got to write a ballad you can throw in the middle of the set.
Where's our every rose has its thorns? Dude? We need it. But Garrett also is helping me out with vocals on the record for a couple songs as well as live. He helps me out a decent bit just to help me.
Yep.
Yeah. Garrett has to pull double duty because I'm bad. So that's the way it works.
Yeah.
Now, will you be, this is going to be the album release party. Are you going to parlay this into a lot of shows? Because we're going into the fall season, which is when the most people come out.
Right.
You've got opportunity here to capture some people's attention with the new album. Like, what's the plan moving forward after this show?
We have no plans as far as like.
We have one other show after this, but that's already.
There was something sort of planned in November. I don't think that's happening.
That is not.
So it's a completely open slate at this point.
Yeah.
So you hear
but we
that?
just need to talk through
Yeah.
it.
You hear that,
Hit
bar
us up,
owners?
like because we had some things booked, and one of them was actually a international act that was coming in to do a U.S. tour, and we were going to hop on for one of those days, and that didn't work out with visas and everything else. And then there were a couple others that were started, and then things fell through or whatever. So we really just have the one on the 29th.
Well, I really hope that you guys are able to put together some shows between now and the end of the year, because you have a quality product that needs to be shared. People need to see it, need to hear it.
Yeah.
And so if there's any other venue or bar owners out there listening, give these guys a shout and get them on your books, because they're a phenomenal act.
Thank you.
We appreciate the kind words.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, there's a couple facets or couple, I don't know, angles to look at for us as far as like, I guess why we haven't done anything else. But one is just like bandwidth. Like all of our resources, time and energy has been dumped into not only this album release show, but we recorded all this stuff a long time ago, and we've played a few shows. I mean, we've actually been pretty active this year.
Yeah,
but
we
it's
were active
been
this year. Yeah.
it's been, I would say, kind of getting back into the swing of things. It's been a minute since we had a show. We kind of took the summer off to prepare for this show. So we've been eyes set on this show, and nothing really after. I mean, like I said, we've got a show in a couple weeks after at the Milestone. But after that, I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to talk it out. And obviously, we're going to be playing some shows. We have
we'll
desire
play.
to get out
I think it's a thing of because of the hurdles that we had to jump with getting the record to us. There was the option of taking even longer with the release, and then we just
so
kind
we
of
can promote it.
Yeah, and then we had kind of come to the decision of like, we need to get this thing out. It's almost a thing of like, we want it to be out just as much as everyone else.
To make
so
it a
that
priority.
way it's out.
You had to make it a priority.
And so
to
that
get
was the
done.
biggest thing, was get the record out, play the show, and then the other show, honestly, that we ended up booking after was really just in the midst of all that. It was just like, hey, can we do this? Yeah, we can. Okay, now let's go back to figuring all this out.
Yeah.
So, because Gavin basically took the helm of doing album art, promotion, everything. We kind of DIY'd a lot of
that's
stuff
another
after
thing.
the fact. We had William Wallace is a guy, I think it's Braveheart Media, did some logo work for us and everything, like single art and like our actual logo and everything. And then Gavin just took all of that and just made our album cover and got all of that.
Now, where would people look for this album? I mean, I know that you're probably going to get it up on the streaming services and that kind of stuff. It's going to be everywhere. That's this Friday,
Yes.
correct?
See, it coming out the 11th and the show's on the 12th.
So,
We wanted to make sure it's on like a weekend, because we honestly haven't played that many weekends this year. It's mainly been
Sundays
Sundays or
weekdays.
weekdays, yeah.
weekdays, and we were like, can we play a weekend?
Yeah.
Like, it feels nice to just play a weekend. So, but
well, I'm really happy for you boys. Like you said, we met early on in this journey for us, and you guys were early supporters of us. I've been a big supporter of you guys since the day we met. I love what you guys do, and I'm excited. I can't wait to hear
Me
it.
too, man.
I can't wait to see you live again. You're such a fun band to see live.
Yeah. Well, sorry it's taken so long for us to get back.
Yeah.
Don't look, man. Everybody's got stuff going on, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's busy. Everyone's got stuff going on. People will, apologize to me for not coming to shows more often or not coming to see the place yet. And I'm like, I get it. You're busy. You know, don't wait too long.
Right. Yeah. Don't wait forever, but
But we're all grown ups. I don't know what the kids are doing now. I mean, every now and then we'll have a show where we see a lot of young 20-somethings and people 18 to 25 range. We just had a show here last Sunday. The True Lilith, Blank State, and Inkswell were here, and half the people here had X's on their hands.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And we don't really see that that often. We do see a lot of kids. A lot of people bring their kids to shows here, and that warms my heart every time. Just
Right.
last night we had 5 or 6 kids, doing a little circle pit, running around chasing each other. It was great. But the young adults, I don't really see a lot of them in here. It's mainly people, millennials and Gen Xers and older. So it would be nice to see more of that younger crowd. And that's another thing with you guys. You do have a younger audience.
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing some kids in here.
As old as we feel, that's surprising. So
Yeah.
I mean, but I think to the subject of it's taken us a while to get back here. It's taken us a while to put out the record and everything. The hard part for me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but the hard part for me personally has been trying my best not to compare to other bands. Like we've been a band for a long time, but when you look at when we really started having the ability to do the things that other bands do, we're just in our infancy as far as that goes with technology and understanding how things work.
I want to speak to that for a minute since you brought it up about comparing. Recently we've had a situation where somebody has taken a negative perspective at me at this club, and it's all based on comparing their audience and their following and their turnout to others.
Yeah.
And all I'm going to say about that is this: look, number one, this is Gastonia. There is no built-in audience for a place like this.
Right.
There may never be a built-in audience here, right? It's just not that type of town. My goal is to turn it into an arts town, to help be a part of growing the arts in this community and making it a priority for people. But it's not. On Friday nights when we have these amazing bands here and we have low turnout, the bars around town that have karaoke are packed.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you get into doing original art, when you get into doing original music, you're signing up for the shit. You're signing up for low audience attendance. You're signing up for all of your friends that say they support you not showing up to your shows. All of that's true. And you have a choice to make. You can choose to be bitter and let that shit bother you, or you can choose to appreciate the audience that you do have.
Yeah.
And let those people guide you to the future for more stuff. Getting into that comparison game, look, some bands work harder than others. Some bands that might not be as good as others are out there promoting harder.
Yep.
They're leaning on their personal relationships and their networks to get people to come out. They might not be the best band, but they sure know how to market themselves.
Yeah. And
you can't be mad at them for that.
No.
Some bands just have the ability to be our age and tour and do all these big shows and everything. And I'm super stoked that people are blessed with that. And not to say that we're not blessed with the things that we have, but there's just a point where hey, we got big boy jobs that are going to pay a little bit more than a weekend run.
Yeah,
So
all of our lives all of our life is just a series of choices, and up until I opened this place, I always chose security over risk.
Yeah.
And I finally, at 40 years old, decided I was going to take the risk.
Yeah.
Some people take the risk younger, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it don't. There's no guarantees, man. There's no right way to do this. I'll go back to something I said earlier about keeping moving. I would rather my life be interesting for the entirety of my life than be boring because I made a choice to be safe. I'm not afraid of failure. If we fail, we fail. I will have had this experience.
Yeah.
Just like you guys will always have this experience, whether you're doing this for another 5 years or another 25 years.
Right.
You will have this thing that no one can take from you.
Yeah.
And then, while your buddies are out on the golf course and their wives are cheating on them, they can have that life.
Right.
But we don't want that life. And people have to understand that we make these choices to put ourselves in these situations. You can't be mad at the outcome when it doesn't go the way you thought it would.
Yeah. And I think, once again, speaking for myself, that's a lot of. I'll give an example. So we use a DistroKid to distribute all of our music.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a add-on called the Legacy package, and you click that and pay it's like a one-time fee, and the music that you put on there stays on there forever, even if I pull we're not a band anymore, whatever, blah blah all that stuff. I die because it's like my login stuff, but I die, whatever. That music's on there forever. And that, to me, is way cooler than oh yeah, we ran ourselves to the ground, ruined relationships, did all this stuff to go play in Butthole, Pennsylvania twice a year.
Hey, don't shit on Pennsylvania.
Well, I mean, Butthole, Ohio. There we go. Is that
Yeah, that's better. That's where Bob's from.
Fine, Indiana.
All right, Indiana. Anyone here from Wyoming? Anyway, but you know what I mean?
From Wyoming.
I know. No one. I don't think anyone is from Wyoming. But anyway,
Doesn't exist.
you know what I mean? The music's there. We had fun playing locally or going a little bit further out to the border states, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be, the next big thing. I'm okay with not.
So I'm not a metal guy. I appreciate metal, but I've never really it's not something I pop in when I get in the car.
Right. Yeah.
We're working on him.
Yeah. But so when we were talking about comparing, and not to really compare to better or worse, but what separates you guys from other metal sounds? Because we're talking about trying to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as far as mainstream goes, obviously we don't have that level of production, but locally, I think we, I don't know. I mean,
There comes a time where everyone's kind of doing the same thing. I love hardcore. I'm a big fan of hardcore music. I love local hardcore bands. I have heard 3 bands that sound the exact same because they're we're going to do hardcore, and this is how you do hardcore, and it's these chords, and it's this beat, and it's this way, and this is what the vocals are supposed to sound like, and that's it. And I think we do a good job, especially on the music end, of taking influence but not copying anybody. The sound that we have, you can hear, I can tell what they're influenced by, but it's not. This is insert band here 2.0.
I would answer Bob's question by saying you guys are a little more melodic than most in your genre.
Yeah.
That's the thing that grabs my attention in your songs is it's almost like you have to listen to Fault Union songs a couple of times to hear all the shit that's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes.
The first time I heard Obedience, I didn't hear everything I heard the fifth or sixth time I heard it, and when you listen to their music, there's all these melodies that they don't stay on the low end like a lot of hardcore bands will do. They're kind of weaving in and out, and it's every like Jonah said, hardcore is hardcore. There's a specific type of sound, but they definitely have more melody.
Yeah, and that's the kind of guy I am too when it comes to music, especially with the Menders and stuff. It's more the complexity. Right, like he's saying, every time you listen to it, there's something else. Or this is the 300th time I listened to it. I didn't notice that little in the background or whatever.
I think there's a lot more of that too on the new record and stuff. And I think talking about our influence and stuff, our influences I think come together. I think we draw from a lot of different areas of metal and even not metal and stuff, and turn it into metalcore or whatever. And I think it all kind of comes together. I don't really know how to explain our sound, but I think it.
That's good. You don't have to put a label.
Yeah,
on it, you know what
I
I
think
mean?
it comes out to being like it sounds like Fault Union
Yeah.
somehow.
And I think as far as like throwing in all the extra stuff that you kind of get on your fourth and fifth listen, there's a difference in that and putting 50 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. Like I've heard people. I listen to a lot of different stuff. Like I just try and like listen to as much as I can. And I've heard bands that go out there and they're like, we're gonna throw every single thing we've ever thought of while making this song into this song, and it's like that doesn't work. You can't.
And I can definitely be guilty of that, and that's where these guys like really like
I was
can
gonna say it. I was,
like pull
you
me
know.
in a little bit. Like I said earlier when I was saying like Matt will say like no stop, don't change anything, don't make it any more complicated than it already is. Gavin does the same thing too.
I mean, yeah, I would argue we're a nice balance of, I mean, a little dash of progressive, but then also like, I mean, you could call us dated metalcore, I guess, but we are no. I mean, we're pretty tame when it comes to the metalcore, and I think it's something that everyone can take a piece home and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like you
There's a little
mentioned, being
something for
non-metal.
everybody.
There's a little something
It
for,
really makes
especially
you
in
feel
this.
like Spider-Man.
Especially in the new single. There's no singing in the new single, but at the same time, there's some level of comfort to that
Yeah,
song.
there's a ton of
like,
and there are songs that I had a melody in mind for the chorus, and when we were recording it or when we were kind of laying down the scratches, I was like, I don't need to sing this, I need to scream this because that's what feels right.
What the
Right.
song calls.
And then
for,
and
you
then
know?
and then there's some parts where I'm kind of doing both. I'm kind of like throwing a melody behind like a more scream heavy song, and I don't know. I'm very happy with this record, and I think this will not be like the end of anything or like the punctuation of anything. But I think when looking back on this record, I'm gonna be like, I'm really glad I was a part of that.
I would also like to talk Jonah up a little bit, but I think one thing that people have come up to me and mentioned is how impressed they are when Jonah goes from singing to screaming. They
Yeah.
say that that's one thing that might make us a little bit more unique. Not to say that there's folks who aren't doing that, but maybe to the I don't know. Jonah's been doing this a long time now.
Yeah.
You've been a frontman in our band for
13 years.
like a long time.
Yeah.
Just and that without playing guitar, because for a
Right,
while
yeah.
he
Well, yeah, for a
played
little
guitar
bit
in
I
the
played
band,
guitar,
but then he became a front man with then two other guitarists
Yeah.
in the band, and you've sort of mastered your craft. And
That's
yeah,
even
I
impressive
think
because
that-
most bands have two singers. One does the singing and one does the.
Yeah.
and Garrett helps, and then Matt sings.
yeah,
Does
we
backup
all do a
singing.
little bit.
Yeah, they all pick me up as I fall.
But and as much as like I think all of us excelled and matured musically on this album, Jonah I think did a lot of. I mean, if you listen to the album on clean stuff and aggressive vocals, like he's doing a lot of different stuff that he really. I mean, he's always been like really good, but I think also Landis kind of helped put or
Yeah.
whoever got you to do some of the tunnel
Yelling.
throat stuff and all that.
Landon did push me a little bit. Landis is a vocalist, and so I think his part of the thing is how he was kind of wanting me to be comfortable because
Yeah.
he knows what it's like to record vocals for like a long period of time. And whereas Landon was like not saying he didn't want me to be comfortable, but he was like, you could do more.
Yeah.
You could push this.
So
to
finding
different
that
places.
sweet spot where it's you want to. Well, I mean, I'll agree with Landon there. You do want to be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You do want to push your limits a little bit,
Yeah.
to find your potential.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
But yeah, I won most improved player for this.
awesome. Well, with that, let's wrap it up. Let's talk about the new album will be out Friday.
Yes, Friday,
Pain and
August
Provision.
11th. Yep.
Look up Fault Union. They'll be here Saturday night with Cleansing in the Temple, Long Suffering, and Omen Killer.
Yes.
Get your tickets in advance. Get here early so you can see Omen Killer. And I'm very excited. From everything you've said today, I'm looking forward. I'm going to be watching a lot of Jonah. I'm going to be watching him a lot.
Don't do that. I'll let you down.
See how he lays it out there for us.
I haven't worked out the details yet, but I do believe we're going to do some door prizes. So
Do like a little like a merch giveaway type.
You will have merch for sale,
Yes.
but we'll do some giveaways too. Maybe we can give away some tickets, like some raffle tickets at the door, and we can
Yeah.
do a raffle, and give away some merch at the end of the show or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an album release party. We're gonna party. We're
Yeah.
gonna have some fun.
Come have fun.
We're gonna have a good time. Maybe we'll have some food here. I know we've got some food. We now have food in the kitchen.
Right.
So shut up.
We should do a post show conference, like bring out a table
Do
with
like-
a back
like those like after UFC fight press conferences.
Yeah.
where they, like,
Towel
sit
on the
down
shoulder.
there.
Yeah, I thought it went really well, but Garrett had way too many pinch harmonics in this set.
And yeah, come get to know the guys. Come talk to them before they go on stage.
And
Yeah,
come
we
meet,
are
come
gonna
meet
do
all
that.
the bands. I mean, the biggest thing is like, especially playing with Omen Killer last time we were here, and especially me kind of like getting all these bands together and talking to mainly the vocalists and all the bands. They're all really, really good people.
Yeah.
They're all just incredibly good people, and I think one worthy of your time in a music sense, but also worthy of your time as this is a cool person that I get to meet. Like that was my biggest takeaway from the last time we played here. Was with Omen Killer. Like me and Ben, their vocalist, have spoken all the time since then.
Yeah, I'm glad those guys. I'll give credit where it's due. It's the Kids and Victim Complex are the ones that got them guys here the first time.
Yes,
They introduced us. We gave them a show early on, and if not for them, we never would have met the Omen Killer guys. But now we have a dialogue going as well. And anytime they reach out and want to jump on a show, I do my best to get them on.
Yeah.
Because they're worth your time,
shut
and
up.
it's like Jonah said, it is worth your time to get to know these people. These are people that are putting in work in this community. And then they're doing it just to entertain you, and to work out all the stuff inside that we work out when we go to these shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what keeps us all sane. But yeah, if there's anything else you want to leave our audience with, we'll wrap it up. We'll get out of here and we'll get ready for Saturday night.
We have some new merch. We've
Yeah.
got a lot of stickers, a lot of shirts. We'd love to sell you.
Yeah, we would love for you to wear all of our stuff around town and tell all your friends this is a band with an album that I like.
Yep.
That
And
would
when
be
this
cool.
album comes out Friday night, to prepare for the show, play it, and then when you go to bed, just turn
Yeah.
your volume down and let it play all night
On
and
repeat.
get them
Yep.
streams
Put
up.
it on
Be
repeat.
sure to put your phone on a charger though.
Is there a
Learn
time
all
that
the
it comes out?
lyrics so Jonah doesn't have to sing.
On Spotify, it should come out 12:01 on
12:01.
Friday,
Yeah.
and then for the rest of the streaming services, I don't know how that
I
works.
think it staggers out throughout the day.
Yeah.
But whatever you're using, play the album and just put it on repeat. And get
Yeah.
so there's a little trick. We do it at home. We'll play local bands and we'll just let it play all night while we're sleeping, on mute, just to get the streams up for the
Yeah,
bands.
get us up to 14 cents for the album by
Yeah.
the next day.
We want your money.
Yes, that's what we're in for, is the metalcore money.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everyone worked really hard, so yeah, we definitely want people to hopefully like it.
Awesome. Well, fellas, thank you so much for coming and doing the show. I
Thanks,
really
man.
appreciate you. I'm really looking forward to the show. And that's it for this one. Come check us out. Peace and love.